Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy Pocklington. I'm the Permanent Secretary at the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. And it's my pleasure to welcome you back to this afternoon's final plenary session to feedback on the fascinating discussions that have been taking place in the breakout groups. As we all know, the global energy system is changing, and we're becoming increasingly interdependent, connected to each other. At the same time, more and more countries are making commitments about how their energy systems will evolve, not least the COP pledge to triple renewable energy by 2030. So there's huge scope for us to develop new ideas together and learn from each other as we go. In the North Sea, for example, we're looking at how we can work with neighbouring countries to unlock the potential for offshore wind as well as for interconnection. And as part of our Climate Club, or our new Global Clean Power Alliance, we're looking at new ways to exchange ideas and insights. But I'm struck from all the conversations that I've been part of today that it's only by coming together and discussing our systems in an open way, being transparent about the challenges we have and how we plan to act, that we can strengthen our energy security in a way that benefits us all. That's why cooperating through the IEA in this way is so vital. And with that in mind, I'm delighted now to be able to hand over to Secretary of State Ed Miliband and to Executive Director Fatih Birol to chair this final plenary session of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Can I just also reflect on what Jeremy said, which is I found this an incredibly stimulating day, and that's been made by all the people who are here, so I really want to thank you. And I also want to congratulate you all because you're the long survivors of today, which began 8.5 hours ago, and you're still here, which is very impressive on a relatively sunny day in London. I think we've seen the huge value in sharing each of our country's experiences and discussing how we can collaborate further. Just to remind you, there were 3 breakout sessions this morning. The first discussed the importance of secure and affordable energy for development. The second discussed both traditional and emerging risks around oil and gas security. I should say this is something we are focused on in the UK as well as we drive towards clean energy, including the future and importance of gas storage as part of our resilience and security. And we're going to have more to say about that later this summer. And the third session discussed how we can all ensure resilience of our energy systems to natural hazards and climate risks. Again, something we in the UK are very, very focused on. And I think it's clear that while we have different national circumstances, it's so obvious that many of the challenges we face are shared and there is much to be gained by working together. And I should also say, Fatih, that I think these discussions have demonstrated the crucial role for the IEA, and I know we're going to be discussing that further in the sessions of governments tomorrow. Now, without further ado, though, can I invite the co-chairs from this morning's breakout sessions to summarize their discussions. So please welcome to the stage His Excellency Dan Jørgensen, European Commissioner for Energy and Housing and co-chair of the session on Energy Security and Development, Mr. Jassim Alshirawi, who is Secretary General of the International Energy Forum and co-chair of the session on Oil and Gas Security, and Rachel Kyte, the UK Special Representative for Climate and the co-chair of the session on Strengthening Energy Resilience. And give them a round of applause, why don't you? And I think I'm going to ask Dan to kick off.
Thank you so much, Ed, and I also want to thank you all for a very, very interesting and inspiring day. Although we have been discussing very, very serious topics. We live in a world that is indeed subject to many crises. And we need to try and address them all at the same time. So I guess the basic point that almost everybody in our session made was that we need holistic approaches, whether it's securing your energy supply for hardcore security reasons, whether it's bringing down the costs for your citizens or your industries to increase competitiveness, whether it's for decarbonization and fighting climate change. If you focus only on one of these issues, you risk losing the ability to address the others. On the other hand, if you do this in a holistic way, very often there'll be synergies, and very often many of the things you will do to bring down prices, for instance, will also help you achieve the other targets. Let me give you a few examples. So in Europe, we are fastly deploying more renewable energy. This, according to Fatih's calculator, saves us more than 30 billion euros a year. Add to that we are connected, that we have connected grid, connected energy systems, and that gives us an additional saving of more than 30 billion a year. So yes, we do pay too much for our energy in Europe, and yes, we need to get it down, but we save more than 60 billion a year on being connected, on deploying new renewables. Very important points. But it's also clear that the challenges that we face in Europe are, of course, very different to the challenges that many developing nations face. We spoke a lot about Africa. The need to help eradicate dirty ways of cooking, introduce clean cooking. Fatih and the IEA has been a leader in this issue. It will improve the livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people if we address this full on. It can be done for actually quite little money compared to so many other things that we do internationally. So if we manage to find the funding, we can both reduce emissions. Actually, when put together, even though you wouldn't think it because it's just people making their food, but when you put it all together, it's more than the aviation sector emissions. Health issues are obviously huge. Productivity, because women in the families, which it often is, spend 5 or 6 hours gathering wood every day. So these are very concrete examples of an energy-related question that we really should deal with, and that really should be a no-brainer. Also, accessibility to affordable energy needs to be front and center of our efforts. And the transitions that we make needs to be just transitions. I could speak long about both of those issues, of course, but I will finish here and just also reiterate the ask to the IEA to keep monitoring these issues, keep taking leadership, keep challenging member states, institutions like the EU and others on the solutions, because we are making progress, but we are far from where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present the outcome of the session. I had the pleasure to co-chair the session with His Excellency Mr. Asland, the Minister from Norway. And I'd like to thank Mr. Asland and IEA colleagues and experts that participated in the session. It was a very lively discussion and very rich in content. Before I share the outcome or the takeaway from the sessions, I would like just to say something about the IEF, the International Energy Forum. We are an organization that about dialogue, and we focus on energy security, market and data transparency, and energy transition, just an ordinary energy transition. And we work very closely with other organizations for dialogue, including the IEA, to find solutions for the challenges facing the energy industry, and also explore the opportunities. Now, let me please share with you the outcome of the session. First, oil and gas security remains a critical priority for many countries and for the IEA for decades to come, especially for emerging and developing economies. The nature of this work is evolving. It must now account for the uncertainties in market design and demand outlooks introduced by the rising share of renewables in the energy mix and the need for increased abatement of oil and gas operations and use. Second, geopolitical risks remain rife and choke points remain a concern. We are seeing the emergence of new risks, notably from extreme weather and cyber attacks. These can affect all energy systems, and resilience and new risks to their impacts must be a core energy security consideration. Resilient market mechanisms, sustained producer-consumer cooperation, the IEA strategic stockpiles, and producers' spare capacity all remain essential tools in mitigating potential oil and gas supply disruptions. Third, the transition is progressing at uneven speeds across countries and sectors. This may result in market imbalances and increased import dependencies. Storage requirements may have to be adapted, including potentially through gas reserve mechanisms. This is evident in both mature markets where infrastructure is gradually retired ahead of anticipated demand declines, and emerging and developing economies where the demand for some fuels still growing strongly. Finally, we heard that ensuring conditions for adequate investment and access to finance for all energy sources, including oil and gas, through energy transitions remains of key importance. To future-proof energy security, we need new policies that are adaptive, resilient, and globally coordinated. This requires open, system-based thinking that recognizes oil and gas security as part of a wider, interconnected energy transition, not as a separate challenge. In this context, I commend the IEA for maintaining its attention on its essential oil security mandate, its broader focus on secure and affordable fossil fuels, and its expansion into gas and emerging low-carbon fuels as seen through the Working Party on Natural Gas and Sustainable Gases Security. In closing, I leave this session with a renewed conviction in the importance of our shared mission. Energy security is a collective responsibility that transcends any single government or organization. Ensuring all stakeholders have a voice that is heard and accounted for is essential. My sincere thanks to our host, the Government of the United Kingdom, and the IEA for convening such valuable and timely event. I look forward to our continued collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm reporting out from a group that was looking at the need for resilience in a world where we have natural disasters and an increasing intensity and frequency of climate-induced disasters. And I think the first point to note was that for all of the governments in what was a very rich dialogue, and for all of the companies there, we are all vulnerable. We are all experiencing increasing amounts of loss or damage and challenges to our former sort of concepts of what resilience was. And so part of the discussion was first-person testimony of what our lack of resilience means for our people and for the energy systems that we manage. What does that mean? It means that we have to be better at planning. We have to have really good scenarios. And we have to have the policies that underpin that. And when we do, again, walking around the room, we have examples of when done well, that can bring down the costs, which is a direct line into the second theme that came up, which is the one of affordability, which I think has come up in every session today. delay in the midst of a climate crisis is our enemy. Delay simply means that things will become more expensive. So again, back to better planning, better sharing of scenarios, and the quest for certainty. Certainty that will bring down the cost of capital, certainty that will provide confidence into the private sector, and certainty that allows us to engage in a long-term dialogue with our own people about what they can expect from resilient energy systems. I think it's important to note that one part of that action, that urgent action, is that we do have to keep working on the mitigation of emissions, because one thing to build resilience, but what are we building resilience to? And if we can continue to curb emissions, then we know we're building resilience to a world of 1.5 or 2, but not to 3.8 or 4. So how do we respond to our vulnerability and to the need for affordability in this world of increased disasters? Then I think, echoing the comments of Fatih, Birol and Prime Minister Starmer and the Commission President von der Leyen, we need to increase cooperation and increase predictability. Again, things that different people have been saying over the course of the day. Cooperation, well, disasters don't respect national borders. And so, in particular, regional cooperation needs to be deepened. The alignment of policies, the alignment of approaches, the more we cooperate, the faster and cheaper we can make our transition to more resilient energy systems. And then when it comes to predictability, the need for regulatory certainty, our resilience comes from diversified energy mixes and the ability to really build that out. And of course, attention to their attendant supply chains and issues of storage and the rest of the infrastructure that's needed. It also means, and this came up throughout our conversations, not only focusing on the critical dependencies that we have to critical minerals, but also our critical dependence upon water. Something that I hope that IEA will cooperate with others on as it develops this work. And I mean, really an underlining that we're not going to be able to get to the energy security that we all want and see in a world where disasters will be increasing in depth and frequency if we work in isolation. So it's only going to get more expensive, but we've known that since 2006 when Lord Stern first talked about the price of action being less than the price of inaction. But if we work together at this moment of tectonic change in the world, there was a sense in the room that we can actually achieve much more. And there were many, many lessons learned already, in particular across different parts of the energy mix and different companies and different countries that we could benefit on for everybody's business. And I look forward to IEA bringing that all together with other partners in this space. Thank you.
I think you're going to introduce the second.
So many thanks to our colleagues for the chairing the first part of our side events, and many thanks to Dan. Then thank you very much, and also asking us again to do something. But you can be sure that we will follow the EU, monitor, and always tell you what we think, what we are doing. We say that the good friends tell the bitter truth, so we will tell the bitter truth always. And with Mr. Secretary General, looking forward to work with you. And the energy security is not under the monopoly of the IEA. We are very happy to work with you, with other organizations, with everybody together. As we said, the cooperation is critical here. And also very nice to hear from Rachel. Rachel, everything what you said, I completely agree, including the water issue. We are now preparing a major study on Middle East electricity outlook. And in Middle East, one of the driver of the electricity demand growth, which is very strong, is the desalination of water. You need electricity for that. So many thanks for that issue. And your recommendation to IEA to work on. Now, may I invite these three chairs to take their seats in the first row, and may I please ask Mr. Tim Dooley, who is the Minister of State of Ireland, Mr. Nikos Tsafis, who is the Deputy Minister of Greece, and Madame Sari Multala, who is the Minister of Climate and Environment of Finland. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much, dear colleagues. Now, when I look at the chairs that the sessions that you have chaired here, there is one common denominator for, I think, all three of them, and this is the following. At the IEA, when we look at the numbers, and I think Mr. Prime Minister mentioned that as well, we are seeing entering an age where the demand for electricity will grow very strongly, driven by many things, and Madam President also mentioned, driven by the very strong growth coming from the artificial intelligence data centers, from air conditioning in the developing countries, and also in addition to those from electric cars penetration around the world. So, and this has also lots of implications. And I think for all three colleagues' sessions, this is how we are going to deal with the age of electricity. Our colleagues from oil and gas industry here doesn't need to get a heart attack. We will still need oil and gas years to come. Don't worry about that. But the electricity is growing very strongly. How are we going to meet that the demand growth from electricity, which technologies, and what are the challenges? And I think, Tim, the first session that you chaired or co-chaired dealt with the issue, ensuring security in the age of electricity. Can I give it the floor to you to say a few things?
Thank you, and I appreciate that, and thank you for allowing me. First off, I've got to do an interview with my national station back home, so I'll be shuffling off as soon as I have committed. As they say, all politics is local. And I just want to thank my co-chair, Sonia Tuig, who's Secretary-General of ENSO, who was through that with us. Yeah, I mean, it's very clear, I suppose, the four key takeaways for me for today's session was really about, recognition that you have within the IEA identified this as the age of electricity, with electricity growing much faster than total energy generally, and that's linked to the economic growth, as you've identified, and electrification, and new end users, much of it as a result, as you said, of AI, and indeed the desire by some countries to move towards a cleaner economy, and as part of the decarbonisation process around climate change. So this transformation makes it abundantly clear, I suppose, that electricity security must be treated as a matter of strategic importance. Electricity security cannot, we believe, be understood as just a technical challenge. The vulnerabilities may stem indeed from policy decisions, market structures, and governance frameworks, and that was very much demonstrated and amplified today. And I suppose most importantly, predictable policies and regulatory frameworks are absolutely crucial to attract timely and adequate investment, both in new capacity and grids. And a lot of our session dealt with grids and the importance to give visibility to the investment side, and to ensure that we plan ahead in line with bringing on board more renewable energy and making sure that the rapidly increasing demand is met. Electrification enhances diversification and energy security, of course, but there are other aspects: energy efficiency, interconnections, and building renewable and nuclear capacity reduces risks and offers significant security benefits. But electrification also brings, I suppose, fresh challenges, and that was amplified at the session today. Much more power system flexibility will be needed, and that was amplified by many of the participants, to securely and cost efficiently integrate high shares of the variable renewables. The thermal power systems and hydropower have provided the bulk of flexibility to date, there's no doubt about that, and they will continue to play an important role for years in many countries. And I suppose going forward, other low-carbon dispatchable sources such as geothermal and nuclear small molecule reactors will be important. Storage and grid and demand side are set as, will also play a strong role. But I cannot overemphasize the issue around the grid and what we have to do from a state sector in addressing that. The issue of cybersecurity was raised in the previous session. That was very much part of the discussion from our session also. And I do, like others, want to recognise the work of the IEA from its central role in global energy discussions, and to encourage the agency to expand its analytical work on this age of electricity. You are uniquely positioned to provide insights that policymakers also need to navigate this complex landscape, including through the newly established Electricity Security Task Force, which Ireland happens to chair, so I had to get a plug in for that. So look, I leave today with a renewed sense of conviction about the importance of our work together, and I do want to thank you again, both of the IEA and the UK, for this really important initiative in bringing together governments and industry, because I think we will have to work together for this to be a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim. While Tim is leaving the floor, I just wanted to again cite one of the IEA data. Our analysis showed that because you mentioned the cyber attacks, we didn't talk much about that, but the cyber attacks on the energy infrastructure in the last 2 years increased by a factor of 4. So just to tell us that how important it is to defend our resilience of our energy systems vis-a-vis cyber attacks, which may increase in the, when you look at the world, how dangerous it is becoming. It is one of the areas that we keep an eye on that. So thank you very much, Tim, and see you soon in Dublin. So, dear colleagues, I go the Tim's neighbor, Nikos Tsafis. Nikos is the new Deputy Minister of Greece. He is new as Deputy Minister, but he was the right hand of Mr. Prime Minister on energy issues, and a very good friend of the IE. And we are very happy to see Nikos putting so much value added to the Greek and also European and global energy debate. Thank you very much, Nikos, and also for coming here. So you were co-chairing the session on research and innovation. Can you tell us a bit what are the key takeaways from your session?
Sure, thank you, Fatih. So our panel was called Technology and Innovation, including the role of AI. And as you would imagine, everyone ignored all the words except AI. And the panel was about 80% AI and 20% non-AI. But before I go into the specifics of what was discussed, the one feeling that I really got sitting and listening to all the folks that stood up to speak was technology optimism. The sense that technology can really help us solve big, complex societal challenges. So with that, let me go into the AI part. I think there was a ledger, minus, plus. On the minus side, lots of energy use, water consumption, cybersecurity, misinformation. Those were the concerns we heard about AI. But with some asterisks, the efficiency of chips is going to get better. So don't just forecast today's technology out, but also keep in mind the bigger picture. And here, people cited the IEA data that showed that, yes, AI is a big source of demand, but if you look at the whole pie and all the sources of demand, it's actually just a small sliver. But then, on the plus side of AI, I was really impressed, and I tried to write them all down. These are all the challenges that people said AI can help us solve in one way or another. Better prediction of weather, better prediction of wind patterns, predicting extreme weather events, managing the grid more efficiently, boosting energy efficiency, demand response, and nudging consumer behavior, boosting cybersecurity, and boosting physical security, making it easier for regulatory filings to be filed and regulators to read the regulatory filings, making it easier to collaborate across the board, and helping us to tackle the hard-to-abate sectors. So this shows you that this was a group of people that really believed in technology and the power of AI. On the non-AI part of the discussion, Usually when you have a panel on innovation, everyone throws out their favorite technology. We didn't have as much of that in the discussion, but there were two technologies that really dominated in the discourse. One was nuclear, conventional SMR fusion, and the other one was storage, as the big challenge that we really haven't cracked yet. So those were the two big, if you did a word cloud, it would be nuclear, storage, and then everything else in a much smaller font. And then finally, the big theme was the need for collaboration, that we're trying to do something much faster than it normally happens. We're trying to innovate and bring to market technologies much faster than the normal cycle of life. And to do that, we need to collaborate. We need business and industry and regulators and government and everyone to be in the room together. We can't afford to be in different rooms passing piece of paper around because that takes too long. And in that function and in that challenge, people appreciated the role of the IA and of course also the Energy Innovation Forum that you ran at the request of the G7 that brought together stakeholders, companies and governments just like this forum today. Those were the kind of settings that we really need to drive collaboration going forward.
Thank you very much. Nikos, technology optimism is, I think, underlined boldly here. And I think you agree that the AI can help the advance the clean energy technologies and solve some of the problems that clean energy technologies are today facing. No? What
100%, and I was really interested in the feedback from the session, and I think we're probably at the foothills of what we can achieve with technology and AI in our energy systems. We spend a lot of time thinking, how can our energy systems meet the demands of AI? We spend a lot less time, I think, at least in the UK, thinking, how can AI help us with making our energy systems work better? And I think it sounds like a great session.
Yes, thank you very much, Ed. Madam Minister, so we talk about energy security. Many of the countries or like organizations like us, energy securities, we look at the numbers, we analyze the situation, we look at from a distance, but your country is literally, energy security is one of the key day-to-day issue for your country, for Finland, and it is great that we have you here with us. First of all, thank you very much for that, finding time to come over. And you have been co-chairing the supply chains. What are some of the takeaways coming from the discussion, from the session you co-chaired?
Yes, thank you very much for having us and having these conversations here. I think it's been very fruitful discussions all throughout the day. First, on the broader perspectives and from Finland's perspective, I think these discussions are very timely for us, and we've been sort of forced to think about these issues for a long time already, and we were lucky that we were forerunners already before the war against Ukraine started, so we were quite easily disattached, for example, from the Russian energy. But it's still, it required determination and a little bit of luck that we were able to do it very quickly after the war ended, that we'd actually cut off from the energy from Russia completely. And this has actually led, with our very ambitious climate goals, to the fact that we see at the moment that energy security goes very much hand in hand with our competitiveness and also our climate change goals. I mean, climate neutrality goals. So this is one of the aspects that's actually working for us. That we have been forerunners and cutting the emissions already for a long time now. But maybe this one critical aspect that we actually had the honor of co-chairing with Emily Olson from Vale Base Metals was about the critical minerals supply chain and from critical minerals to manufacturing. And We talked about many different angles, many different countries, and also companies brought their perspective to this. And maybe one key takeaway from this aspect was that countries need to have, maybe not just countries, but all around with the partners, we need to have a strategic approach when it comes to critical raw materials. And for example, us in Finland, we have made a new strategy on critical raw materials just at the end of last year. And we see this as has to be done because of the big investments needed and also the security for investments. It's long-term investments that is needed, so we need the security, not just legislative purpose, but also political security and so forth. And maybe other aspects that we could be the key takeaways from this discussion we had. We talk about investments and how do we secure the adequate diversified investments in today's clean energy supply chains, given the level of concentration that we see at the moment, that it creates for new entrants to these markets as well. We had heard a number of important ideas about policies that can support investments in refining and processing of critical minerals, as well as technology manufacturing based on a careful mapping of areas where countries might have strengths and advantages. And skills, permitting, and financial support are the watchwords there. We also heard about the importance of new partnerships, including with countries rich in critical minerals, to develop more diversified supply chains, offering opportunities for local value creations, which was, of course, it is very critical for many developing countries as well, and this is very much the aspect that we need to consider. And also we discussed that we have to maintain high social and environmental standards when we talk about the critical raw materials. And we can't forget about the importance of the demand side. There are two aspects of this. First, the investments in manufacturing will be drawn to the countries that offer a robust deployment and growth prospects, and also a focus on recycling and technology innovation is crucial. And I think this is something what we also came up in the discussions, that we can't just talk about the finding the supply chain of critical raw materials, making it diverse, but just also the recycling of the raw materials has to be part of our strategy in this sector. And also investments in R&D, which are also important in both the recycling and also in the industrial development. And we have some requests to the IEA to take forward also from this discussion. First, on data and transparency. We won't have security without good data, and there's more that needs to be done to improve market monitoring and transparency. We asked the IEA, in collaboration with its members and other relevant institutions, with improving the data landscape for energy technology supply chains from critical minerals to manufacturing, and with strengthening its efforts to enhance market transparency. And secondly, on the critical minerals security program, we call the IEA to step up its activities to enhance emergency preparedness and promote resilient, diversified supply. That was our key takeaways from our session, and thank you very much for hosting us today.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Before giving the floor to my colleague, Mr. Miliband, just to tell you maybe two things. One, the point you mentioned, the data transparency for the supply chains is very important. Because when it comes to energy security, data is everything. And for example, for oil, we know, the world knows, if an oil is produced in, I was discussing with the Iraqi Deputy Prime Minister, in Zubair field, when it is produced, how much it is produced, which tanker it goes to which direction, in which refinery it becomes gasoline, and where it is sold and where it is consumed. We know everything about that. But when it comes to the lithium or the cars, electric cars, how they are built, there is a bit major problem there, and how it is manufactured, how it is mined, under which conditions. And here, I wanted to once again, yesterday I was talking with, I think it was BBC, that I just heard that you have a new legislation here, that the UK government will be much more careful when it comes to how the mining is taking place, under which conditions. And I really, as I said to them, the journalists, I really salute that decision of UK government. And also maybe before finishing, something very similar what Madam Minister said and what you said in the morning, how you mentioned that after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the energy security challenge, how you responded by clean energy policies. And Mr. Secretary also said in the morning, the well-designed clean energy policies are the best friends of energy security. So they are not in contradiction to each other. If they are well-designed, they can reinforce each other. And this is what you just said in the morning, and we finish by the Finnish minister answer to that as a confirmation. Over to you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go to the lectern. I've got 3 housekeeping announcements. You'll be pleased to hear I'm not going to say anything more substantive now. My 3 housekeeping announcements are these, and someone will wave at me, one of my team, if I get them wrong. First housekeeping announcement, we're shortly going to have Jeff Dodds, who is the CEO of Formula E, who is going to be... Oh, he's not doing that. Okay. Okay. It was done earlier, and I missed it. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Can people still use the simulators? Right, okay. So Jeff has done his remarks. This is why it's good to have guidance. Jeff has done his remarks, but you can take on Jeff. Can you in a simulator race? No, you can't take on Jeff. Okay. Okay, this is going well. You can't take on Jeff, and you've missed his presentation, but the simulator is still available. Fatih, maybe you and I will do a simulator race. There are volunteers. Henrik is volunteering. Okay, so there are lots of volunteers for the simulator race. That's the first thing. Secondly, downstairs, we're going to have the evening reception. That's still happening in the Grand Hall. And then finally, we have a dinner, a gala dinner for the heads of delegation in the Locarno suite at the Foreign Office, and I assume people will be told where that is and how to get there. They'll be guided there. Yeah, that is all good. Look, can I just really take this opportunity to thank everybody here for their attendance today. I found it an incredibly stimulating set of discussions, and just, I think above all, the point I would leave you with is just a reminder, and this has been the theme of the day, that we have so much to gain from cooperation with each other and from learning from each other. That, multilateralism is a kind of not just a word or a slogan, but is actually a substantive way in which we can all act to improve things in our own countries. And we can learn from best practice, we can learn lessons, and we can work together on these common challenges. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all of your patience, your input, your tolerance today, and have a good evening. Thank you so much.